Today I'm making lots of pressed flowers for out of tropical fondant for a wedding cake I have coming up. But I wanted to show you how quick and easy it is when you have the right tools. So you can buy hundreds of things. Don't buy them till you need them is probably the best way to do it, but they're so fun, I can't help myself. So you'll benefit from my stash. So pressed flowers, what are pressed flowers? I have a sheet of tropical fondant, and it's super thin. If you roll it that thin, great. If you have a pasta roller, it's on like a 1, the smallest setting it can be. Make sure it's dusted well. This is powdered sugar. I use powdered sugar and cornstarch. I'll get those out in a second. And it's really taste. This is tropical fondant by Satin Ice. Tropical fondant, it's not tropical flavored. It is vanilla. Natural buttercream is vanilla. Tropical means that it is specially formulated for humid conditions, so that if you work with regular fondant, it tends to elephant skin pretty quickly, so you have to work fast. Tropical fondant gives you longer working time in that it won't elephant skin and it takes a long time to set. You have to take that into consideration when you're working with it, but it's really nice for the newbie who is not used to working with fondant that you can get used to it, work with it. The downside to it is that it doesn't dry or set fast. So you have to use a lot of cornstarch or powdered sugar to keep it flexible yet not sticky, right? And for these pressed flowers, I'm using a combination of stamps and cutters. I have a whole bunch of them in different sizes that I need for this wedding cake. So these are different sets. This is a set because the center is the same. And then this one is obviously different, but it's the same sort of shape, so I'm using it. And then this one is not at all like it, but it also comes in a set. Well, it's 5 petaled. It comes in a set of different sizes, but I need the small ones because I'm making a whole bunch of little flowers. I think 250. So I need all kinds of sizes. So I'm using a combination of them. So what do I do with them? I shall show you. What I'm getting are different sizes. Some I've colored already, and I'll show you. Some I have not. But I need white and peach. Some will be all white, some will be peach, some will be white and peach. So here are some bigger ones using this, this cutter. And then I use a combination in the center of another set of petals. This is a whimsical cake that I'm making. And this is the size that I put in the center. It just avoids having to put stamen in there, but I'm also using nonpareils in different sizes and sanding sugar in white as the center stamen. So in this particular one, I dusted it peach on the bigger set of petals first. Then I put a white center on a smaller set of petals. Then I put the white nonpareil in the center. It gives it a nice whimsy peach background, and it accentuates the white foreground, but just a little bit of color. So I'll show you how to do that. Now the container that they're drying in, these are egg crates. I would not recommend saving your egg cartons from when you get eggs because they're not sanitized and they're styrofoam. These are plastic, and the only reason I use them is you can get them probably off Amazon. But I got some eggs from a private farmer, and then I sanitized these egg crates, which are perfect egg flower formers. You can get smaller ones, but who does one at a time? I have probably 20 of these, right? So let's get cracking. I'm going to cut a bunch of petals, and I'm going to do the different sizes because I want to show you what the different cutters do. And it all depends on the style of flower you're going with to what cutter you use and what technique you further use to help soften those petals. So I have a flower pad. You can have a small one, but again, I ain't got time for this small stuff. One at a time nonsense. So I take a piece of foam, I don't know, foam paper, foam board. Got it at Michael's, and I got black so that I can see particles if they come off when it starts to deteriorate. So it's about 1/4 inch thick. I cut it in half so it's manageable, and sanitized it, let it air dry, and then I use it like I would this small flower pad. I ain't got time for small things. So I'm gonna set this aside because when I cut my flowers first, I need a stiff surface, not the foam pad, because it won't cut the edges of your cutter. So this is, again, a set of 4 cutting boards that are flexible, and they have a kind of a non-stick surface on the back. Not really, but it stops it a bit from sliding. I cut on the cutter side, and I use this because you can cut with knives and it won't cut so much and send pieces of it into your edible food. So be careful of that. Now, I just start off in a corner. I shake it, sorry if the camera's moving because the table's moving, to cut a nice clean cut around the cutter. See, this is not a very thin edge of a cutter, so like say a cookie cutter if you make your own. It's not that thin. So I clean it off by just shaking it against the surface to sort of cut everything off and clean it up. Now, if you recall, in this cutter is a little bump in the center that gives you the stamen area. So how do you get it? You can pop it like this to get a soft one, or do it again and press it down again on the surface lightly, and then pop it out. It doesn't always come out if you're sticky. Flip it over and you get a more severe hole. If you need something like that, it's great. If not, fine. I do both because I do too fast. I ain't got the patience for doing this. But the process is fun. I put on a movie and I just go at it. But I like the one where you push it in, but the trade-off to that is your hand slips and it's a little awkward. But again, push it down lightly. It does not take much, and then push it out. That's it. Now, since you have it in your hand, pop it into your former. I have another former here that is egg foam, but it's a smaller, obviously smaller cavity. That gives me a bit more curl than putting a small flower in a bigger cavity. It would be more flat, and I want these fairly curled, and the bumps give it a nice bit of movement, right? So I'm gonna put these in here. And you see with the smaller, I'm gonna use my ball tool instead of my finger because it doesn't fit, and smush it down in there. Now, you don't get too symmetrical of a cup like these smaller ones because these smaller ones fit way down in there. So this is a bit big for this former, but it all depends what you're going for, the shape of your petals. So you let this dry, gently push it down, and that's it. Couldn't be simpler. Now I'll cut some more big, medium-sized ones and pop them into the bigger former so you can see what happens. Whoopsie. See, if like a bull in a china shop. If you get too excited and you push down too hard, your finger slips and then you put a hole in it. I mean, really, that's barely a push. It's a tap, and already it created quite a big space in it. So I'm gonna put it in this bigger one. I put a little powdered sugar dusting inside this, so I don't want them to stick, and if they do stick, it's gonna take longer to dry. You know me, I have no patience, so I'm gonna let it have some powder on the back because I don't care about the back, because it's the back, but I also don't want it to stick. So I want the back to dry. I don't want it to take forever. So you see, compared the smaller egg crate to the bigger egg crate of the same size flower, this is more cupped, this is less cupped. All depends on what you want to do. So I might put some of these smaller ones inside this medium, and then that gives me another size than the bigger ones. Yeah? Okay. I can also put this size, and this one here is this cutter here, but I need something between, and that's too small, like I did here. I don't really like it. So I could put this in between. Yes, I'm just sizing it up. This one will be smaller. Oh, wait, I need 3 hands. So you can see if you put the centers together, this is smaller, and that'll be nice. So I could get 3 levels of petals on this if I wanted, with an even smaller one. Now this is super tiny. These do not work too well. You've got to keep them really, really powdered. Here's my little poof. Really dusted. You even put a little bit of powder, bench powder here. And let me show you how tiny these are. They're so tiny I don't even push it down except to pop it out. And sometimes if it sticks, it'll just rip it right out. I mean, what am I going to do with that? Barely hold it. If I breathe in too hard, they're going in my mouth. Anyway, okay, let's put those aside. Let's get some more. And I have a different, I forgot about these sprinkles as well. These are the other sprinkles. They have some of these hard balls that I don't really like, but these discs. Dots, I suppose they are. They're flat discs. And then the jimmies, I don't need those. And then super tiny nonpareils. I am not spending time putting those in as centers. Plus, it's too small. That's like an edge of some kind. I ain't got time for that. But it's too small. The smallest I would use is the sanding sugar, number one, because it's glittery, and two, because it has some texture to it, which is fun. And I have a bit of corn syrup, clear corn syrup and water and a brush. And I just give it a swirl, and this is what I use to glue them together. You could just use water, but for the sprinkles, it doesn't really work, so they need a little something extra. When you put the centers, what do I have one? In the center sprinkles. Here we go. Right here. So I put a little bit of the sugary water in the base. Then I added a small flower. This one is dusted. And then add another little dot. Not a whole bunch. You'll melt your fondant if you do too much. Get my tweezers and pop a little disc in there. So this is a little bit, this is white, peach, and then white. Gives it some interest, and I push it down. Yeah, hope you can see that. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Let's pop some more. So I want to put this inside of the bigger one. So let's show you what that looks like. Get my brush, my water, sugary water, put a little bit in. Pop that in. I try to offset the petals. Now be careful using this brush, it's going to stick. So you got to get your tweezers. Move it around, give it another little dot, and put a tiny little bigger sprinkle in the center. This is a pearl. Now this has no white, but I like how that looks. And this along on my cake board for my wedding cake, that's what I'm making all these flowers with. So you can see there's different centers. There's a bigger one, a small one, not a fan. Okay, but I like this one better. So let's do it again with another center, a third one. If you can't get your finger in there and it's moving around, just use a ball tool. We're going to use these in a second. So that I'm going to show you how to flatten out some of these petals when they're super tiny. Going for a third. I want a white one, because I want to keep this all white. So again, just pop it in. Use a small. You could use the end of your brush. It's a great ball tool. Then you don't have to buy them. But this gives a nice layering to your flower. I need a super small sprinkle. I want a shiny one. Oopsie. Don't forget your water, because your sugary water, because your sprinkle will just pop out. Roll onto the floor, usually. It pops right in, and that's really pretty. So I like that layering, so I'm going to go for this. It's almost like a lotus flower, but I do like the difference in them. Probably take this one out and use it for something else. I did a little dusting of peach. I will dust the center ones peach to give it more depth of color. This has the back is peach, the front is peach, and I'll do a middle one peach. This one has middle already peach, but I want to do the middle set of petals peach. If you find that your tropical fondant is getting hard and you have all these pieces, I just stack them over here and use them all at the same time once I'm finished this whole sheet. And I'm just denting the heck out of this. Just add some heat to it, mix it up, add a tiny bit of heat in the microwave. It will reconstitute, and it's all good. All right, let's do some more. Which do I want? These. So these you have to pop out, and this takes, because it doesn't have a popper. This is like a typical cutter. But just don't be fast like me and rough. Again, break it, push it out. Break it, push it out. Now, as you see, it doesn't have a center, but most of the time it doesn't matter because we have the sprinkle going in the center in this particular version of a flower. You can also put sanding sugar, as I say, or make some pollen with semolina flower and some powder color in the 70s and 80s. So that's an old trick, but it's a nice trick. So if you wanted, say you have a set of cutters, you don't want to buy any more, and you don't have the center, and you're not going to use a sprinkle, just use the end of your brush and dimple it. If you don't want to buy anymore, I certainly appreciate that. Perpendicular and eyeball it. There you go. Same difference. This is a little faster. You'd think this would be faster, but you have to keep making sure it's dusted. Otherwise, it'll stick. Oopsie. I don't know why. I think I have to do that so hard. But it will remind me every single time not to. Give a little push. And it lightly puts the dimple in there. If I want to clean it, push it, then pop it out, that will give me a more pronounced dimple. The same as when using a brush. So I technically could just pop these all out, not use the dimpler too much, not press it extra, and then just go through and dimple the center. Same thing. Like this one, didn't get one. Well, there's not much difference except for the size. Same thing. Look at that. So this bigger one is the same premise. Pop it out with the end of your brush or ball tool. I think we did some. So I'm going to put this aside. Turn it around because we haven't done any ball tool technique. So you can get a set of these. The pink ones were a set, and I have the blue ones also were a set. I mean, they can get ridiculous. Whoopsie. Ridiculous in sizing. You know, you buy one set, you see another, you're like, ooh, I like that one better. But they're all the same. Exactly all the same. I don't know why I have two sets. They're the same. Same size. Now, you can also get another set that's super duper tiny. I love these for cookies and super fine work. These are probably my favorite set of tools for fine work. Yeah, these big ones are great for bigger flowers. Oh, did I forget which one I was using? I mean, I could even use this super big one. Let's see what it does. But I tend to keep them around about the same. So you have these, but these babies, look at these awesomeness. I love these for some reason. So they're double-ended, obviously. You just can't see it. And they go down to the smallest little ball. I mean, what are you going to do with that? It's even too small for that. You can make a series of puckers. You can make a little face. Snowman face. I've done that. I've always done that when I was a kid. If I have a little pokey thing, I make a face. And it usually looks like a snowman. I don't know why. So you have the big ones down to the little ones. This is a different set. I bought these because they were cool. I love these inserts. But I had the wooden ones. Of course, I have to buy another one because I like the set. With the centers. Look at these. These are so cool. I think I have more. I don't know where they are. So they have from bigger to smaller. This is super fine, and this is a pointy ball for doing pointy divots for some reason. Because this will give you a rounded, wider tip. This one will give you a pointy tip, smaller tip. So this is for super small point, even smaller than this. Fun tools. I love tools. You should see my tool jar. I have oh, here's the other ones. There's a whole array of colors. Just because. Look how small these are. This is still the smallest one, which is even smaller than this one. Look at that. This pointy one still gets the smallest point. I love those. These just make me happy because I sit and turn them and watch them spin around. But it doesn't help me finish my cookies. But anyway, so we're going to use these for the petals. All right, back on track. Now for the bigger size for the petals, when you smooth them on a surface, I'm already not using my flat foam pad. So it's going to give me quite a thin petal. I do the center too, but you don't have to. So you see these little pokey puckers from the ball tool, smoothing it out, but it's thinner in the center than it is on the edge. So it creates a little bit of a cup on each petal. It all depends what you're after. Now, if I would do a bigger ball tool, let's use the foam pad. I usually forget to use it. This is nice and dry because it's spinning around. So the ball tool that's too big essentially for it will create a line in between each petal. I'm trying to define this so you can see it easier on camera. Do you see here? Right here between each petal, you get a cup, but you also, oh, I can see it, you get the lines, which to me is more realistic. Again, this is a fantasy flower. You can do whatever you like. You can do a smaller ball tool on the edge and get, to me, sometimes flower petal edges look shredded, like super weathered. So you could further do it thinner and it's just cute, right? Super cupped, very nice. Put it in your former. I would not use something as small as this. You're just gonna make lines in it. But if you wanted to ripple the edge, see how you get that line on it? Not desirable. But again, smooth it out with a bigger one. Problem solved, right? And you get a little bit of a tear to it. Tear is probably the wrong word. It just looks weathered. And I'm transferring it to, oh my God, I have an area. This is one of the bigger ones. Oopsie, don't drop it. Now, I'm going to use peach on one of these. Let me give it a center. You can, while they're sitting in here, I did a bunch of them. They were in the wells. You can dust them while they're on here, sitting in the well, or you can dust them while they're down here if you do a bunch. I do not want a lot of peach, so I don't reload the brush often, but you can spin it around and you're technically cleaning off your brush, but it creates a nice graduation of color in the center. See if you can see that without the brush in the way. So that is the extent that I'm going to do it because that's what I need. I need more color in the edge than color in the center than I do in the edge. So it concentrates it in the center and then fans it out because it's spinning. It's not all on one petal. So then I take this one. Boo-hoo. It's already starting to dry because it's cupping. Pop it into the white one. I'm going to give it 3 layers. That is not as centered as I would like. Use your... See, when it's wet, it just does not want to move, so you need something to stop it. Because it's sliding around while you shift it. And that's fine. I'll use it on its side. That's how I mask that. Now I need a white one. Get a really cup one. Do the water. Sugar water. Tiny bit. So you'll take off some of the color, so just be careful with that information. Pop it in the center. So you see you get the background is a bit more peach than the one in the foreground. I like that. And I pop a wee sprinkle. I don't have a smaller one. Oopsie. A little dot. And because I have it on the brush, it's getting in the center, but the sprinkle will cover it. And give it more depth. Give it a push. I like those much better than the 2-layer, but this size is cute. I could actually stick this one in here and it's almost done. A whole bunch of things you can do. So these particular ones I cupped really thin, really fine on the edges. This one needs a sprinkle, which you can add them later. But I wanted to show you the difference. This particular round disc sprinkle compared to the ball, the nonpareil, I like both of them. So it all depends on what look you're going for. This is really pretty. Looks like a lily pad of some kind. But that sprinkle is not as sparkly as I would like. And again, it all depends on your preference, but there we go. The colors that I made for peach are the Sugar Arts Orange Zest to give it Sterling Pearl to give it a little bit of a shimmer. And Nicholas Lodge's Mango is one of my favorite oranges. This particular orange is just too dark for what I'm going for, so I'm going with a peach. And you can add a touch of yellow to it to lighten it up and give it a different shade. Or, again, Nicholas Lodge's Cappuccino is, what does it call this? I think it's the petal dust. Does not have shimmer, but it's a beige. I'm gonna put my mango over there. Make sure I don't use the wrong one. And it is, I keep my lid on it. I only open a little bit so that it doesn't all fall out when I tap it. I only open a little bit. And you can add a little bit of color to your orange. If it's too orange, you want to peach it up more, lighten it more. Then you take your orange and your peach and mix. And you get a bit of a gold, depending on the ratio. See that? It's a bit dark because it's so loaded, but I do like this. I might add a little peach in there. See? So that's, I like, you know me, I love shimmer. The matte colors are great. I just like some shimmer. It makes me happy. Definitely do a paper towel because you don't do it on this, it will not take off some. You need the abrasion to take it off of the brush before you pop it onto your fondant. Otherwise, it'll be too much color because you haven't unloaded. First you load it, then you unload it a little bit. Otherwise, it's super concentrated, the first one. If that's what you're going for, then by all means, load it up often and have at it. But this is probably all the peach I'm going to use on these flowers. I need to do more white, but it just gives a lovely shimmer and a hint of a color. I have, I think, 3 colors going on, baby blue and this peach. Well, they have blue and they have beige. So they said, what color, what other color would work to with the blue? And I said, they were going to have sage napkins. I said, that also works. But orange is the opposite color to blue on the color wheel in color theory. And they make each other pop. So that's why we're going with a little bit of peach. It's not orange. It's a softened orange. And that's pink. Well, a peach actually is mango. We're going with a bit of mango. If you have any questions, please tag me. Feel free to ask as many as you need to. If you need to... if you're working on something and you have questions. And I'm going to put these all in the former so that they dry in the smaller former, except this one's going in the bigger former, and then I'll put them together. And by the time I'm done, I will have several formers full of not single ones. I'm not going to do single ones. I'm going to do either 2 or 3 centers, but I'm really loving this with a pearl, not that one. Let's see how that would look. I think that's too orange. No, absolutely not. There's no gold in the wedding, so the pearl would just set it off nicely. So I'm going to use the pearl instead of the matte. And it's a bit bigger, so I'll have to adjust my sizes. But no problem. It's all good. And I like the disc even better because it has a bit of shimmer on it. I don't want to use my typical edible diamond dust, edible glitter, white diamond dust from Sugar Art edible glitter because they don't want glitter on the cake. So I have to go with some pearlized centers. Not everywhere, a few places. And that's that. All right. I hope you have a wonderful week. I have some things coming up this week. Putting cookies on top of a cake. And I made the cutters and there's all kinds of fun things happening. Hopefully my 3D printer will stay working. Okay. Thanks for watching. I hope you try these. Bye.